Welcome back to Ferocious Education, this is Zed. Today, we're going to be talking about PROG. I did talk about PROG before, you'll find my previous video in the description below. Just a quick thing, so they are an innovative biotech company that was founded in 2010 and went public in 2020. They aim to improve the diagnosis of disease and improve patients' outcome through localized treatments with targeted therapies. Now, there's a lot to talk about. First off, I do want to cover a little bit of their potential catalysts coming up after Q3 2021. So the first one is towards the oral biotherapeutics. So for OBDS preclinical PK data generation, that is expected to be a catalyst. OBDS ongoing preclinical studies. There's also GI health, which is a clinical proof of concept study and the top line clinical PK/PD for adalimumab in ulcerative or ulcerative colitis. Also, in terms of women's health, you have Preecludia, which is a validation data catalyst, and as well later on publication and partnerships ongoing effort. Now, there's other things that I did cover on the pipeline itself in depth, but this is not the focus of the video. We do have some new news coming in back on October 26, 2021. And it says that they're reducing their outstanding debt by $20.175 million through a private exchange of $20.175 million of its 7.25% convertible senior notes due 2025 for shares of common stock. So a bit of a dive into this. You'll able to see here the number of shares of common stocks includes in respect the interest make whole provision of the indenture under the notes that were issued, and the reduction in debt achieved by the exchange transactions represents approximately 38% of the company's non-affiliated debt. Following the closing of the exchange transactions, approximately $137 million in aggregate principal amount of notes will remain outstanding with terms unchanged, of which $104 million is held by an affiliated holder, Atrium Capital Management. So they also agreed to issue an aggregate of approximately 427,804 shares of the common stock to certain investments or investors in consideration for a waiver of certain contractual lockup provisions to which Progenity agreed in connection with prior offering if it's secure. So in all that kind of things, you're able to see that there was some shares as a transaction or notes to pay off some of its debts, around $20.175 million of their total debt. Now, this is again confirmed in SEC filings, as you get to see, including some issuing of new shares that they're offering. Here, they're offering 427,804 shares that we mentioned about earlier. That was put on there, but it's different than a public or private offering. Now, in terms of the short interest as a percent of float, we're seeing around 17.8% to be the short interest as a percent of float. So it's not massive, but still considerable. And then other things like the price over sales, you're able to see the company, this is based on TTM, which is last year's valuation, is 12.73. And the explanation onto this is that it's a biotech or biopharma. And the problem with a lot of these biotech, biopharma companies, they burn through cash with not a lot of sales. Before we move on towards institutional buyers, if you would like to see more contents like this, make sure to smash the subscribe button on the bottom right corner and leave notifications on. Don't forget as well to drop a like if you've actually enjoyed this video. You can join our Discord, totally free in the description below. Institutional buyers, there's some interesting movements here. First off, we have Destination Multi-Strategy Alternative Fund Class. They liquidated their position. Other ones going back on the 26th and others, you're able to see some additions and some liquidations as well. But it has been a busy couple of weeks in the end of October where institutions seems to have a bit of interest into this one. Insiders, there's nothing in the last 90 days. The last activity on insiders goes all the way back in August. For the short interest ratio, there's around 0.22 days to cover, and the dark pool short volume is around only 10 million in general, and half of that is going towards the short selling side. The availability for short shares availability is showing 100,000 with a high short borrow fee rate of around 67%. Now, it does show that there is, at any given day, more than half is going towards the short side. let's move on towards technical analysis now. Now, from a technical analysis perspective, we're able to see, first off, when the moving averages, the price point is above the 200 SMA, a really bullish indicator. 10 SMA is above the 30 MA, another bullish thing that we're seeing here. Between them, there's a trading action zone where most positive reversals occur between the 332 and the 247. So there is a cushion underneath, and the price point is also above the 50 SMA at the 165. Another one thing, or that might not be relevant to a lot of people, is that 200 SMA is actually dipping down, 50 SMA is climbing up. At some point, the 50 SMA at this point is going to cross above the 200 SMA, and that's a bullish indicator. 80X is sitting at 50.8. Really got to be very careful to pullbacks here because it's very prone to that above 50. 20% R, which is very similar to the RSI, is a little bit close to the overbought. Not there, but very close. MACD is trying to test the negative side. You're able to see the histogram dropped a little bit down. So that is another issue that we got to be very careful on, because if it does go towards the negative side, that would somewhat anticipate a negative reversal. On the momentum, we're still positive at the 138. Stochastic fast and stochastic slow. What we're seeing here is that they're actually rising up a little, but at this point, we're seeing a bit of a pullback. There's still an uptrend on here, but there's a bit of a pullback. You got to be very careful where the next support is. We'll talk about that in a second. Bollinger Bands and moving average bands are climbing upwards. It's a really bullish scene. You're able to see it's almost going parabolic, and that's really good. Volumes have died a little, but you get to see it's kind of pushed on and off in volumes. So we can anticipate that this to go forward. Now, in what trend? Well, I drew this kind of channel from last time. We're able to see that currently it's at the bottom of the channel. So we can expect for it to hover perhaps around 326, nothing lower, and start going on in this uptrend, or continue to go on with this uptrend. So that's a really good thing that we're seeing here. Now, another thing that I do want to take a look at is Fibonacci retracements. We're going to go on for, I would say, the last 6 months for 1 day perspective, a little bit further on the 786 jump. We're going to take the Fibonacci retracements to be on the top and the bottom 65 cents. We're able to see that there is a significant support on the Fibonacci retracements of 341 and 236. Resistances are on 426, 511, 632, and 786. Now, from a price line action, we're able to see significant support level sitting very close towards the 324. Below there, 309. Below there, 291. Going downwards to the 272, 238, a bit downwards to the $2 value, and then 174, 146, going down to 117, and a little bit downwards to 95 cents. Resistances, we're able to see a few, for instance, at the 359, and then above there, 377, 398, 425, it jumps a little bit to 471 and then pushes on to 514, 535, and you get to point 602, etc., 631. Comes to the question, what do you think is going to happen here? Well, this is an uptrend, as we talked about. It looks like it keeps jumping up, bullish flag, jumping up, bullish flag, jumping up, bullish flag, and we can anticipate this trend to continue on. Now, their news with the debt reduction didn't really do much. It kind of got a doji star here, and it met with a lot of resistance. We can anticipate this one to fix up as they move forward. If their management does actually deliver on some of these milestones, it will be really good. You might see the stock price go higher. But again, this is a biotech pharma company, so you got to be very careful into where their products actually lie. You need a sustainable revenue for a company to survive, otherwise they're going to do it through offerings. And offerings reduce the stock price. So that's a big risk you got to be careful of. What do you think is going to happen here? Make sure to share down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day.